thank you for attending this morning. We just ask that you exercise some patience as we wait for the meeting to be recorded. We will start within the next 5 minutes or so. Thank you for your patience. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all those attending Cape Medical Plan's 63rd Annual General Meeting. I'm Yasin Karim, Chairperson of the Cape Medical Plan Board of Trustees. Thank you for your patience, firstly. I will start by reading the notice convening this meeting. Notice is hereby given that the 63rd Annual General Meeting of Cape Medical Plan will be held on Tuesday, 26 August 2025 at 1100 hours. This is a virtual meeting and members attending the meeting will vote via the virtual platform. I can confirm that we are quorate. There are 30 members in attendance via the online platform. 45 members are represented by proxy, and 4 apologies have been received. We would also like to welcome an observer from the Council for Medical Schemes and the chairperson of Cape Medical Plan's Audit Committee. Before we continue with the next agenda item, I'd like to share some housekeeping rules. First, you may note that on the landing page, there is a block that's hovering over the screen and it shares the name of the speaker. If this covers any slideshow that's being shown, you'll see on the top left-hand corner of that block, you can either minimize or maximize the speaker so that it doesn't block anything that you're seeing on your screen. As for questions, all members will be on mute during the meeting. Members are able to submit questions by typing them in the Q&A facility. We have set aside time to answer members' questions later in the meeting. You can post a text question by typing those questions in the Q&A facility, and your question will be answered verbally. Members are requested to refrain from asking questions of a personal nature pertaining to their membership and benefits, but to rather focus on questions that are pertinent to the business of the AGM. Voting. The voting platform is open and will remain open for a short time after the final item on the agenda has been covered. Please remember to vote on each item. If members submitted a valid proxy before the meeting, they will not be able to vote again today, as they've passed this right on to their proxy. Please remember that voting is reserved for principal members who are in good standing with the scheme. We encourage everyone to ensure that they have voted before leaving the site. The voting results will be sent out in a separate communications within 7 to 14 days. Approval of certain agenda items. We will approve certain items based on the fact that no written objections were received. Now, let's move back to the agenda. And the second agenda item being the confirmation and signing of the minutes of the 62nd Annual General Meeting held on 24 August 2024. With no objections and corrections received from members, I take these minutes as approved. Agenda item 3, matters arising from the previous minutes. There were no matters arising that were received. There are some matters that will be addressed under the Principal's Office scheme update when she addresses members later. Noting of the Chairman's report. I will also take this report as read. The report highlights, together with the scheme update, will form part of the Principal Office's feedback. Item 5, consideration of any motions received. I can confirm that there were no motions received. I would now like to hand over to Charlene Skuman, our Principal Officer, to present a scheme update. Thank you.
Good morning to all of you. Thank you for your patience. I can't believe that we're back at AGM time again. And I have seen from the list of participants, lots of familiar faces. I don't see your faces, but I know you are out there listening. So thank you to all of you for attending and to our observers who are also attending. I think the purpose of a presentation like this is to give you general information and also to give you specific information about Cape Medical Plan. And most importantly, this meeting is about voting. There are 3 items that you need to vote on that we will discuss, and that is the trustee election, very important, trustee fees for the coming year, and then, of course, the pricing, which is very important. Always remembering that as far as the pricing is concerned, we are the only scheme that allow our members to get involved in voting for the pricing. So that is very important. If we can begin with the presentation, thank you. Next, please. Just a little bit of an overview on national health insurance. I'm sure most of you have been reading about it and getting very confused. I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but just to tell you legally where the status is as far as the NHI Act is concerned. It has been signed into law on the 15th of May 2024, and there have been many legal cases that have followed. Board of Healthcare Funders, which is the group that we belong to, have a case that's focused on whether the president lawfully signed the act or not. In other words, did he take into account all the submission and the financial implications? Their view is no, and this is the case that is on the table at the moment. What has been decided in the last couple of weeks is that all other cases based on constitutional challenges will be on hold, because if Board of Healthcare Funders wins the case, then the act is null and void at this stage. They have also just submitted a further application to the Constitutional Court. Where does this leave us? One of the important things is that as far as the Act is concerned, no regulations have been passed. And the one area that affects schemes is that Section 33 of the Act says schemes can only offer services that the state cannot provide. Now, a regulation will have to be put forward to say what we can offer and what we cannot. What the minister has said is that this regulation or this section will not have regulations put forward until further notice. In other words, until the cases have been resolved. For you as members, the important thing to note is retain your private cover. NHI is not coming anytime soon, and we will inform you when there are items that will directly affect your cover, but stay on your medical scheme, and we will inform you when we know exactly what the outcome of these cases are. Unfortunately, this can take years. So we are very concerned at the moment in that we have an NHI Act signed into law and we have no idea as to when this will actually be in force. Next, please. The general industry challenges, and these are not getting any better. They are specific to Cape Medical Plan, plus to the industry at large. The aging population is probably the biggest concern. Young people are not coming into schemes, and there are various reasons for this, which I'll explain further on. There's also an increased demand for health services. Now, what I mean by this is we are being challenged by more and more expensive items coming into the market that members are wanting us to pay for. One of the recent ones we came across, interestingly, was biologicals for asthma, and this cost 25,000 Rand a month. Now, you can imagine asthma being one of the most prevalent chronic conditions. If we are paying out 25,000 Rand plus to a beneficiary for this, what it will do to the subscriptions that a member has to pay. And this all adds to the unaffordability of scheme membership. So not only is it the economic situation that members find them in, but a push on the supplier side for increasingly expensive procedures and medicines. Probably one of the most disturbing things that we are seeing at the moment as a self-administered scheme is the control by the insurance industry and how this has distorted the market to such a large extent. Just about every scheme out there is administered or linked into one of the big three insurers that are running the industry, and they are giving a very skewed view as to what is going on to both suppliers and unfortunately to members as well. There's a proliferation of products out there that are not providing adequate cover. And these products include gap cover, primary care cover, other insurance cover that shows itself to prospective members as being a medical scheme, and it's not. I came across one the other day where they advertised on social media saying they were a medical aid, but they weren't necessarily found on the list. Now, what that means is all medical schemes that are registered have to be registered by the Council for Medical Schemes, and you'll find them on the list there. So they were saying this is a medical scheme, but you might not find it on the list. I actually wrote a comment there, why are you not registered and why do we not find you on the CMS list? No response. Digging further, this was actually a link to a broker who was selling insurance products. Now, unfortunately, these products are sold at a very reduced rate. It is very difficult for a person to see exactly what they are buying, and they only find out what they are buying when they need the service and find out that it's not being covered. So honestly, we really say to our members, be very careful when these things are put on the table. Cheap is not going to give you the cover that you're going to need. So be very, very careful of these items and always check if somebody says to you they're registered as a medical scheme, there is a list on the CMS website, and check that they are actually there. Next. Our financials for 2023, 2024, if you remember this time last year, 2023, and we'd gone through the changes on IFRS 17, and the financials had to be presented to the registrar. They had been signed off by the auditors this time last year. So those were submitted and we had no problems there. And the 2024 results are here. I've briefly summarized, but I will show graphs further down to make it a little bit more understandable to those who aren't or fair with the IFRS 17 requirements. Looking at your profit and loss, it looks very different. Your insurance revenue is your old subscriptions, and your insurance service expense actually now covers the bulk of the admin expenses sit in there as well. So if we are looking at that 216 million, it is actually not just claims. It is also a large portion of the admin costs. In other words, over 20.5 million sits in there as well. Then you've got your investment income. Your finance expense from savings account is actually the interest we pay out on our savings account. And then your other non-attributable operating expenses are split out here. I don't want to get too technical on this, but if you took that and the portion sitting under insurance service expense, your admin cost is 27.8 million. We find as well that people don't understand the amount attributable to future members. All that means is that it's the amount in the old way of showing the financials that was transferred into reserves. And they talk about existing members as future members. Next. The statement of financial position, I'm also looking a little bit different. Having a look at the CMP, you can see there that you've got your property, plant and equipment, which is the building that we purchased for Cape Medical Plan and which we operate from, which is helping us a great deal in terms of not having to enter into very expensive lease arrangements. Your investments are split into your financial assets at fair value through profit or loss, and part of that sits under current assets. Then you have financial assets at amortized costs and cash equivalents. And those all together are the investments. That's what actually you as members own. Receivables, you'll note that we are very, very strict in terms of what we do with our subscriptions, so you don't see any large amounts under receivables. And under the new way of reporting, receivables actually now go into insurance contract liability to current members. So things have shifted around quite a lot. If you look at the bottom part of the balance sheet, the liabilities, you will notice there's no reserve figure there. The insurance contract liabilities to future members, that the non-current part plus the current part, those two added together would be the figure that you're familiar with as the reserve figure. So that's just taking you through a bit of understanding. Next slide, please. Moving on to this part, which I think is more what members are familiar with and more what you want to see. And what I have included are the 2025 figures as well. Important to note the 2025 figures and where we are going, because the base of the 2025 figures determine what we do for the increases for 2026. So it is important for you as members to know. This is up to date as at the end of July. Now, if we look back at 2020, remember that was COVID, and we had large surpluses. All the schemes had large surpluses on underwriting, which is, remember, merely the difference between subscriptions and claims. So people weren't claiming, they weren't going to hospital unless they actually had bad cases of COVID. So our underwriting was very high then. It dropped in 2021. When we look at 2022 and 2023, those were almost catch-up years for everything that didn't take place. So you can see we made an underwriting deficit of 11 and then 11.7, which quite honestly took out the 2020 surplus that we had made. 2024 was looking a bit better, and 2025 we're sitting on positive underwriting of 11.12. Now, the important thing there is that we need to analyze that underwriting and see what actually caused it. Next slide, please. There are various reasons. With a small scheme, obviously you have your top claims have quite an effect on the overall underwriting figure, and this is the volatility in a small scheme. That is probably one of the risks that we do sit with. In 2023, we had 19 cases over $1 million, which cost us 29 million. 2024, where we saw the underwriting was looking a lot better, we had 8 cases, which cost us 14.5. And in 2025, at this stage, we've had 2 cases at a cost of 2.6 million. So those large cases over $1 million, we try and control as best we can. Our case managers are very vigilant. We watch those cases. We ask for reports. And very sad to report, in 2023 and 2024, most of those cases over $1 million became estate lets. So that was very sad. The 2 that we have in 2025, positive, these people are doing well. Next, please. Breaking down the claims and looking at it in a different fashion. We've got 43, this is the total amount we pay out in claims. 43.76% goes to hospitals. And related to that is the amount in yellow there, the 33.81, which are all the specialists. So all the specialists related to those hospital accounts sit there. We've got 12.23 goes out in medicines, which would include your chronic medicine. The 4.58, when I say supplementaries, this is things like your physiotherapy, your occupational therapy, your dietitians. Of concern to us as a scheme is how this portion has increased and is actually larger than the 2.62%, which is what we pay out for GPs. And we at Cape Medical Plan honestly believe that that lower portion in GPs is resulting in that higher amount as far as hospitals and specialists are concerned. And what I mean by this is people do not go to GPs. They go straight to a specialist, and specialists generally admit you into hospital. They generally find something to do. So we appeal to our members to find a decent GP that you can go to, who knows your history and won't automatically admit you into the hospital environment. Because once we get to that, we can see those claims increasing. That 33.81, as far as specialists are concerned, would also cover your radiology and your pathology. So you can see where the money is going to and why the amount that the hospitals are charging is so important, because it sits at almost 45% of our claims. Money goes to hospital, and that is actually generated by that 33% going to specialists, because the specialist admits you into the hospital environment. So the case management part becomes extremely important, and that is why we do the quotes. And for people over a certain age as well, we ask for fit for surgery, and we do challenge sometimes the surgery that is done, because sometimes it's running up unnecessary costs and is not the best for the member. Next, please. Right, then having a look at it broken in a different way, looking at underwriting per product. This is a very interesting one. If we have a look at 2023, we had all products making an underwriting deficit. Then we go into 2024, and interestingly, 200 plus, which is our most expensive product, and we don't have a lot of people on that product, actually made a 2.91 surplus. So that was very positive. And you can see if something is priced properly and we have average claims, that it can still contribute to the overall surplus that the scheme makes. The move from 2024 to 2025, if you remember this time last year, we concentrated on the 100 saver. That is the product we are trying to grow. We added benefits onto that to try and attract younger members. And we also try to ensure that our members are choosing the right product. And what we have at this stage is a 12.3 million surplus on 100 saver, which we're very pleased about. I would say in terms of the My Health 200, that's almost a break even at 850,000. And then the 1.2 million deficit on 200 plus. And that consists mainly of the one member who went over R1,000,000 that I discussed on the previous slide. So it just gives you different ideas of where the money's going, what products generating either a surplus or a deficit, and how we sit at Cape Medical Plan. Next one. Our net position, so overall, after all these admin costs, investment income, etc., we're pleased to report we're sitting at a 5.78 million surplus. I think the increases that we took in 2023 and 2024 have helped us get there. And I think it's very important that when we consider the increases, we always take into account very carefully the financial position of the scheme. It's very important to make the correct decision there, because if we keep on giving increases that are too low, that deficit position gets worse and worse. So very pleased to report that we do have a surplus as far as 2025 is concerned. Next one. The reserve ratio, we did have that drop from 21 to 2022, where we had that huge deficit and we had a bit of a drop there. We are happy to sit at about 60%. So we can see as for 2025, the reserve ratio has increased a bit. And this is a very simple calculation. So automatically, as subs go up, the reserve ratio automatically drops. So you will always see that slight deficit there, unless you are making a corresponding surplus. So we're very happy with where we sit as the reserve ratio, remembering that the industry requirement is 25%, and there are many schemes out there that are battling to get to that position. And we would never want to be around that level. As a small scheme, it's way too risky. Next slide. Principal members. Principal members continue to drop slightly. At the moment, we're sitting on 3053. We have put into place our marketing efforts, and we are busy signing up brokers at the moment, because I think we have realized that in an industry that is completely driven by the insurance companies, brokers are extremely important. There's also so many products out there that members find it extremely difficult to even make a simple comparison, and individuals, never mind companies, are going to brokers. So we need the assistance of brokers to push that. But we are fighting in an industry where we have, I would almost say, unfair competition from insurance companies, where they are offering products at very low prices. And unfortunately, for the people who are well, who you need to cross-subsidize your other members, price becomes all important, and they don't actually investigate what the product actually covers. Next. Right, getting on to the decisions that have to be made. Auditors for 2025. For 2024, we moved across to BDO, and the audit went very well for a first-time audit, and with all the changes in IFRS 17. Remembering, we're always looking at that audit fee very carefully. The audit fee is a significant cost. In 2023, it was 1.7 million. Part of that was over R1 million just for the extra that was involved in the IFRS 17 audit. That is beside the amount that we paid to the consulting audit firm who helped us with the IFRS 17 changeover. So an awful amount of money has been spent in that area. For this year, the audit fee 1.17, and we recommend as the board that the auditors that we use for 2025 are BDO. We continue with BDO, remembering that our previous set of auditors were PwC. Next one. This one here is one of the items that you will have to vote on, and please vote. It's very important we get your votes in. This is trustee fee increase. We put this onto the table every year. Our trustees are members of the scheme. They come here because they want to be here. They want to be a part of what goes on in the scheme. So their meeting fee is not large at all. The current meeting fee is 6,300. In fact, I've seen schemes where meeting fees can be 25,000, 30,000, and even more. So our trustees are here because they want to be here, not because they're making money out of this. What we are proposing for the next financial year, well, starting after this AGM, is a fee of 6,600, which is an increase of 4.76%. To put it into perspective, we have 6 trustees. Our total fee for 2024 was 343,000, and for 2023 was 299,000. As I said, at some schemes, one trustee is earning more than that for the year. So that is the one item that you need to vote on. Next slide. Trustee elections. Our chairman, Mr. Yasin Karim, is retiring. He has served 2 3-year terms. We have 2 positions available. We've had 1 nomination, Mr. Shane Lang. He represents Adenco, which is one of our big groups, and he has a human resources background. You have his CV. It was attached to the documentation sent out to you. So that is one of the items that you need to vote on. Next slide. Now we get to the very important one, factors to consider in pricing. So at this stage of the year, we are looking at pricing for the following year. And I've just given you a list of the items that we have to include when we run our pricing model with our actuaries. The CPI is sitting at the moment at 3.9%, although we know that that does not apply to medical schemes at all. It's usually a good few percentage above that. The hospital increases, we are banking on about a 4.4% increase. It could be a bit higher, remembering that hospitals form nearly 45% of our claims. The scheme rate, that is the rate at which we pay specialists, we decide on that. It's 3.9%. Single exit pricing on medicines, we are looking at 3.9%. Limit increases, so all the overall limits that we have throughout the product. We will increase that by 3.9%. And then this is an important one, age and utilization increase. So every year our members age by 1 year. And we also look at what is the profile of our member and how do we expect the utilization of medical benefits to increase. So we've bargained on 1.8 to 4.3% there. And then looking at our investment return, we reduced our expectations there because the interest rates have been falling. So we're looking at a conservative 7.7%. So taking all of that into account, next slide. The changes that we want to do to the product, so besides adjusting the limits, etc., and the specialist rates, in terms of My Health 100 Saver, we want to add 2 visits per family to the hospital emergency room. Remembering that this product is geared towards young families, and we felt that this would be a very acceptable benefit for families, and particularly of young children who might have an accident over the weekend. We are increasing the savings on both the 100 Saver and the 200 Plus. And then for all products, we have had requests and we've looked at it, we can do it, lower the age for mammograms to 45 years old. And we are seeing increasing numbers of females testing positive for breast cancer, so that mammogram is important. And never forgetting that all your products involve a lot of preventative benefits, so you need to have a look at it carefully and see what you can utilize there. Next slide. Right, so we get to the all-important, what is the pricing that we want you to vote on for the following year? Looking at each product separately, My Health 200. My Health 200, remembering the difference between that and the 100 Saver, is that you still have out-of-hospital unlimited pathology, and you have your hip and your knee replacements on this product as well, mainly geared towards hospitalization, although there definitely are out-of-hospital benefits. So the increase we're suggesting here, based on the profile, 8.3%. And if we look at that 8.3%, that converts to 297 Rand for an adult, and for a minor 53 Rand. The 100 Saver, which is where most of our members are sitting, and the product that we are pushing out there in the marketplace, because we are very, very competitive when it comes to the rate that the children are paying. The main member, we're suggesting an increase, including the increase on savings, of 7.51, and the minor 7.5. If we have a look at that in terms of Rand value, 259 Rand for the adult and 39 Rand for the child. Then 200 plus, remembering also having a savings account, which we are suggesting gets increased. And it's really My Health 200 with an extra day-to-day and savings. And the extra benefit you get there is if you are an oncology patient, and this is important for people to consider in their choices at the end of the year, is that if you want access to the higher tiers, if you are curative, that you be on this product. What we are suggesting on this product is 9.03% increases, which equates to 914 Rand as far as the adults are concerned, and 148 Rand as far as the child is concerned. So these are the prices that we would like membership vote on, so that we can add that document to our pricing model that we submit to the registrar at the end of September. Right, I will now move over to questions. I've had 2 questions that were sent earlier. One of the questions was the concern with one of the members. She's been a member for a long time, and she wonders if the membership of CMP falls below the required number for it to be viable, how will you go about finding a new home for the members? If that had to happen, and then the second part of the question, will you negotiate a deal that we won't have a period of time that we are not covered? There are different options there. If we had to go into a merger, then members would automatically move over to the new scheme. So that is what would happen there. If the scheme had to liquidate, which we really hope would never happen, and we would warn you long before that ever happened, any of the schemes that are out there are forced to take you on immediately. So if a scheme is in liquidation, the new scheme has to take members on, and they cannot give you waiting periods. So I wouldn't be worried about that. We've always been very open with you as members and said to you that if we feel we are in a position where we can no longer offer you decent health cover, we will talk to you about it long beforehand, long before anything else happens. The other question that I was sent, one of the members asked, if they are due a refund for any reason, would it not be possible to elect to have the money left in the fund, perhaps in the savings account for the settling of claims? Now, there are various rules around a savings account. A member is only allowed to put money into the savings account if they are coming from another scheme and they have a balance there, they can transfer that money into the savings account. The savings account rand value that they pay in can only be 25% of subscription. So people can't use it as a bank account and just put money in there. So legally, it's not possible for this to happen. And to be very honest, admin-wise, it would be a complete nightmare because some members would want the money paid out, some would not. So unfortunately, it is not, that would not be able to happen. I think if people want to take that money that they're getting paid out and perhaps put it into their own savings account so that they could use it in the future. Remembering on most products, most of the money gets paid to the suppliers anyhow. There are only certain circumstances where that money would be paid out. If anybody has further questions to pose, I am looking at the questions. I don't see any further questions at this stage. I'm just giving you a few minutes to pose the questions. Just waiting to see the questions coming up at this stage. And please remember, voting is open, so please vote. It's very important that we get the votes in. We will also be having a session closer to product renewal time, where members can come into the scheme. We do this, so we will explain the products in more detail to you and to answer any other questions that you might have. Right, just to answer some of the questions that I'm seeing, would members get a vote before any merger? Most definitely. We would never do anything like that. As the board, we do look at mergers continuously, and unfortunately, we have not found a partner that we feel our members would be better off with. We have seen other schemes merged, and the bigger grouping has come to us and asked us if we would like to merge. The only reason this scheme would merge is if members have a cheaper product or they have a product with more benefits. And if we don't see benefits for the member, then we wouldn't do it. The next question I have, 3.9% for specialists seems low. This is the rate that we're going in at, remembering that the CMP rate is the rate we set. If specialists are going to charge higher, we do a quote for members and they can negotiate with the specialists. I must say, however, that we monitor that rate that we give to specialists all the time. We've been doing this for years, and our rate is always very reasonable, particularly on the MyHealth 200 and 200 plus. In most instances, people are able to cover their specialist costs with that. I'm just seeing if there are any further questions. What happens if you haven't claimed? If you haven't claimed, then there's no, unfortunately, in terms of the legal situation that we have, there's no claims bonus or anything like that. If you haven't claimed and you have a savings account, your savings account does roll over into the new year, but the other benefits don't. The benefit set starts again on the 1st of January. Does CMP offer cover for persons residing out of South Africa? Yes, we do, but remember, you'd be covered at the South African rate. So there are two sides to that. One, you get treated overseas, and we give you the South African rate, which obviously with the exchange rate is not going to be that great. The other issue there is if you are residing outside of South Africa and you have a major procedure, you can come back to the country and have it done here. We still have obviously excellent facilities in this country, and then it would be covered at the South African rates. So yeah, depending where you are actually going to have your procedure done. I don't see any further questions. If I can just wait a minute or so before. And if you do leave the meeting and feel that there's something that you wish you'd ask, then please feel free to email us at Cape Medical Plan, email myself. We will definitely get back to you. While I'm waiting for further questions, I would just like to say I'd like to thank the Board of Trustees for the energy that they have brought to the scheme this year. We've had Yasin as a new chairperson for the year, and he's really brought a new energy to the board, and the management and staff really appreciate that. It does help when you have a committed board that actually wants to see the scheme survive. And I think we are feeling very positive about Cape Medical Plan. I think that's important to make members understand that in amongst all the doom and gloom, because we are a small scheme and we're able to make decisions quickly, we do see a lot of positive as far as the scheme is concerned, and we do see a place for the scheme in the future of healthcare in this country. Mr. McKenzie has just posted, thank you for all the work you do for us. We appreciate that. And I think as far as my staff is concerned, I'm very proud to say they always put the member first. They know that the member is the most important thing, and whatever they do, they try and ensure that the members' health is put first, and this is something that we strive to ensure that is carried out, that the we care that we've always had still remains there. If there are no further questions, then I'm going to hand back to Yasin to close off the meeting, and just saying to everybody, please don't forget to vote. And once again, thank you for your support, and thank you for attending our AGM.
Thank you, Charlene. Yeah, from the questions, it sounds that the members are concerned that if anything were to happen to CMP, what would happen to them? And I think it's important for us just to reiterate that from the board's perspective, any discussion or decisions that are had, it's always the question we always ask ourselves is this in the best interest of the members? And that's something that the board always considers when or considering any strategic move. Just to close off, before we officially close off, as Charlene had mentioned, I am coming to the end of my first term as chairman of Cape Medical Plan, and I thought it's prudent for me at this stage just to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to each of you. It's been an absolute privilege to serve Cape Medical Plan and its members. Throughout my term, the Board of Trustees, we've achieved numerous milestones, which include improved benefits, enhanced member services, and strengthened financial stability. These accomplishments would not have been possible without the dedication and hard work of Cape Medical Plan's administrators, staff, and healthcare providers. As we look to the future, I'm excited to continue building on the progress and always striving to improve the well-being of our members. Your feedback and participation is invaluable in helping us shape the direction of Cape Medical Plan. Once again, thank you for your support. I'm proud to be part of this community and look forward to continuing our journey together. Thank you. With that, we shall close this meeting. Please remember, if you have not casted your vote, please remember to cast that vote before the meeting closes. And I thank you again for your patience and your time this morning. Thank you very much.